Welcome to the Chico Creates podcast, where we interview local artists, musicians, and makers from here in Chico, California. I'm your host, Kira Barsodi, and with me today is Kirk Williams, who started Lish Bills as a solo side project while playing in Armed for Apocalypse. And he released his first EP, Kicks to Get, in 2012. He's got another album coming out soon, which we will discuss. Anyway, welcome.
Hey, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Great to have you. So you want to tell us a little bit about yourself beyond the blurb?
Beyond the blurb.
Beyond the bio?
Yeah, I mean, I've lived in Chico my whole life and played music since I was 12, played guitar since I was 12. Mostly played metal, that whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2010, roughly, I guess there were periods of time where like the band wasn't doing anything and I wanted to keep busy. And so I started this sort of solo thing and always liked lots of different kinds of music and just, started writing that kind of music. And it was always on the side until more recently where I decided to kind of see what I could do with it if I really put my focus into that project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so born and raised Chico.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you ever lived anywhere else or?
Briefly in Berkeley.
Okay.
In 2020.
Okay.
So like when it was totally locked down and there was nothing to do there.
Yeah.
I was teaching high school on Zoom.
Yeah.
So I didn't even have to move there, but we didn't know
right.
if things would change or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but still was a cool time living there.
Mm-hmm.
And it got really expensive and we decided to move back.
Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a foray into the Bay Area for my husband's school and we're all too happy to come back to Chico prices. For sure. And so what's keeping you here then other than, the expense of the Bay Area?
Yeah. I mean, I've always had just such a great group of friends here and I've always found ways to keep busy with interesting fun things. I know it there's a balance to strike, I feel like, because Chico can definitely be you can get sort of lazy here and get away with it.
Yep.
I guess. And so it's kind of a challenge to keep that from happening and stay motivated and be disciplined and all that stuff. But, my family's here. I have a lot of great friends here. Some have moved away, but that's okay. And,
it happens. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's just home. And, there's always sort of that feeling of maybe like you're supposed to move away from the place that you were born. But I feel like that's also kind of, I don't know. It's kind of arbitrary,
It totally is. I think that stems from the whole American myth, that we left Britain, so we all have to leave the place we're from.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I think needs to be abolished. I think that we should stick around more.
Right. I mean, and I don't know, it's a natural thing for humans to stay close to their family and their home, and I don't know.
Totally. And it's such a great place to call home too.
For sure. Yeah. But I love going other places too and traveling when I can. Mostly music is the thing that's allowed me to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the places I've been on tour.
Yeah.
So I'm super thankful for that.
Yeah, for sure. Have you? So I assume you've toured with Armed for Apocalypse. Have you toured as Lish Bills at all?
No, I plan to.
Mm-hmm.
Probably solo and with the band. Depending on what they can do.
Yeah.
But definitely that's got to happen, especially once this album is out and everything. But Armed for Apocalypse, we did some super fun, great touring. Got to play with bands that were influences of ours, and
cool.
And so that was really awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. How far afield did those tours take you?
The farthest was, I guess, like Europe.
Oh, cool.
Farthest in Europe, probably like Finland.
Awesome.
and Czech Republic was probably the furthest east that we made it.
That's very cool.
Yeah, so all sorts of cool places that I never would have gone otherwise, probably,
Totally. Yeah, that's very cool. So back to Chico. What's your favorite place to hang out in town?
Other than my house, I don't know.
I feel you.
I don't know. I mean, lately I'm fortunate to live close to the park, and and I have a dog, and so it's just go hang out there. Now I'm like thinking, I'm like, what do I do? Where do I go? Yeah, I guess I go to the bars sometimes. I just like to see my friends in whatever way we can. So band practice.
Yep.
Love that.
Yep. That's awesome. And so you mentioned you started playing guitar at age 12. And from there, like, did you take lessons? And then when did your involvement in bands start and things like that?
Yeah, I started taking lessons at the Music Connection from a guy named Matt McBride when I was 12. And then also at Harriet from this guy, Matt Baldoni. And then when he left town, Bruce McMillan took over for him. And that was the first time I met him. And he's still around here and is an amazing musician. And I was fortunate to have him play on the album. Cool. And he's played some shows with us, with the band that Gavin Fitzgerald is in, and Jack Gingerich and Chris Keene. But yeah, so took lessons from a few different people. And then the first band that I played in I was in 8th grade, and a couple of other 8th graders had started this band. Some guys I knew, one of whom is Corey Vasper, who was in Armed for Apocalypse. Okay. So we started a band called Brain in a Cage.
Love it.
Yeah, and so we were, 14, I guess. And we'd play in bars and every venue we could. We'd have to leave, after we played, if it was a bar.
Right.
But so yeah, started playing shows in 8th grade.
Cool.
And kept doing that through high school. And then, yeah, also the next band that I played in was called Blood of Cain, more of like a death metal band. Who the drummer from that band is, he plays in a band called Aborted now. His name's Ken Bedeni. So he tours all for a living and stuff.
Yeah.
Amazing drummer.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a really cool, group of people that I've gotten to play with.
Yeah.
Just being here.
Yeah. Chico, again, that's the whole point of this podcast, is just to sing the praises of Chico and all the people who are in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess, okay, yeah. So Corey and I, when we were in Brain in a Cage, Cale Hunter, who was in Armed for Apocalypse, and at the time was in a band called Odd Man, and he worked at the Underground.
Okay, yeah.
And he's like 10 years older than us. And so we were in high school. We brought our demo tape in and gave it to him. And I guess he listened to it and thought he was going to be trash, but then he was like, well, these kids are actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And so we would play shows with Odd Man, and eventually we all ended up in a band together.
Yeah.
And with Nick Harris, too, who was in Red with Envy at the time. But yeah, it's all just, like you're in different bands and then you're in the same band. And I don't know, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Seems to be the recurring theme from the music scene in Chico.
Yeah.
Which is very cool. So, going from metal to Americana, what do you think prompted that?
I think just wanting to play music that I could play by myself.
Sure.
That I could just show up with a guitar and play. I think that's a lot of it. And then I guess working at the Music Connection I started working there when I was a senior in high school. And, Bruce McMillan was one of the owners, and, his taste in music, I think, rubbed off a bit, and just other people around. I don't know. I just started getting more interested in that kind of music, and wanting to see if I could do it. And I'd play a lot of like covers then. I'd play also like kind of more like soul stuff, like Otis Redding covers and stuff.
Yep.
To try to challenge myself vocally.
Yeah.
And yeah, just as a challenge, I guess, and as I don't know, something new to explore.
Yeah, for sure. Did you do vocals in any of your other projects? Oh, okay.
Yeah, pretty much every band I was in, I did vocals. So, more like metal, screaming kind of vocals. And also I sang, I took singing lessons in high school too.
Okay.
But yeah, so doing both of those types of vocals, I guess, the whole time.
Yeah. So I have a question about screaming. I know there's a way to do it that does not thrash your voice. Is it something that needs to be learned, or
I mean,
or do you just put up with it?
I think there's definitely a way to do it that doesn't thrash your voice very much. I definitely have I think what happens is you get scar tissue on your vocal cords.
Oh, okay.
And that's how you're able to get that sort of distortion almost, like that, or I don't know, like that thing. And that has definitely, there's the mixed voice, like when you sing, there's like the sort of chest voice and there's the falsetto. And then in between that, there's this mixed voice. I don't really have that anymore.
Okay.
I used to, but it kind of cracks if I try to do that. And I think that might be a result of all that screaming.
Yeah.
So I think there is sort of gains and losses from doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when I do that kind of vocal, it's not super loud. Like it seems louder than it is because of the microphone and how you use it.
Yeah.
And yeah, especially if you're going to tour and play every night, you have to be able to not lose your voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it is different than just yelling.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
But I trial and error, I think, was how I got it.
Right.
I would probably be, when I was a kid, like terrifying my neighbors.
Sure.
Because they probably hear this kid in the house like growling and screaming and practicing,
Yep.
But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Figuring out a way to make it sustainable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Do you have a favorite song you've written as Lish Bills so far? Is it?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, of the older set of songs from the EP, probably there's this one called Myself on there that ended up on the new album as well. Probably because that was my favorite one of the old ones. And then the new ones, there's one, it's the first song on the new album. It's not released yet, called Summer Breeds. And that's probably my favorite on the new record. But yeah, I guess there's not a way for people to listen to it yet.
Not yet, yeah.
That's
coming out
3rd.
in May. Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. And where will people be able to get that?
Anywhere, like streaming anywhere, right? Any of the platforms, Bandcamp.
I know you're on Bandcamp.
Yep, there too.
Plug them. Yeah.
Right. So that'd be the place you could like download it. And I'm going to press physical copies too. So
okay, cool.
We'll do a release show May 4th. So the day after, on Saturday, May 4th at the Naked Lounge.
Awesome.
With the full band and everything.
Cool.
And so hoping that the vinyl is pressed by then and the CDs, those are quicker. But yeah, so I want to just do all of it.
Yeah, very cool. And then you have plans for touring?
I'm working on it, but no, yeah, I'm so undisciplined.
So are you doing it all without a manager?
No, yeah, I don't have anything like that.
So that adds to the complications since you're all doing it yourself.
I guess it would be amazing to have a booking agent, but I don't have an audience that's big enough to attract such a person. Yeah. That's how I think that's such a tricky thing when you're trying to get the thing moving fast enough to where opportunities start coming your way.
Yep.
And since I've started making this thing more of a priority, I've definitely, looked into more of sort of these, I don't know, things that people recommend doing to build your audience and all that. And it's just, it runs so counter to so many things that I like about music and art and everything. And I haven't quite figured out, I think, how to make it not feel, I don't know, like that, I guess, like it's not consistent with what it should be.
I totally get that.
Yeah, because it's like what, you do your social media thing and build your following that way, or you get more old school and try to just find the right people.
Yeah.
Play for nobody, all over the place until your audience gradually
clicks. Yeah.
But that's really really draining. I've done that, there were times in Armed for Apocalypse where we played some self-booked tours where we were traveling far, playing for very few people. And in that case, it did work out because I think we just needed to show some people that we were willing to tour, and then we were able to get on some better tours.
Yeah.
But we had a little more momentum than like I have with this project right now.
Right. As a solo project.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to play good shows, So as far as touring, I'm just trying to make sure that whatever I do is like good.
It's going to be worth it for you.
Yeah. Because it can get really expensive and just, draining. But and you got to be disciplined, which I'm not the most disciplined person ever. So, getting up and sending those emails and all that stuff, it's a big part of it.
Totally. Yeah. I can 100% identify with that. I feel like I'm in a place with my visual art career that like, I feel like I'm right on the edge of that critical mass of eyes on my work, but it just, there's a grind,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Because you just need to get it to a certain point, right? And then once it's there where it's sort of like, I don't know, seen as legit, then it's like people can be like, oh, all right,
Yeah.
Then this person seems serious or whatever, I don't know. It's all just kind of frustrating. But.
Yes. And I totally understand like all the advice you get for how to grow your audience, where to put yourself. It's like it all ends up sounding the same.
Yeah.
And none of it.
And I do find myself like noticing lately that I haven't been doing as much of the art. I haven't been writing as much. I'm trying to get going on that again. But I'm like, man, this is just very little time that I'm spending on actually thinking about the music,
Yep. Oh, it's so easy to get caught up in the hamster wheel of trying to get the business side going. Wow. Yeah.
But there's seasons for these things, I guess. And so, you put that time in and it can maybe take care of itself for a minute while you switch your focus to the real work, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then, with an album like that feels like a big close of a project. And then you get to focus on the administrative and the business side of things a little bit. And,
right.
Yeah. And, I'm prepping for a big show, which is also in May, a big art show. And, so right now I really do need to be focusing on the creative side. And then once that's done, then I have to switch gears and focus on the promotion and everything.
Right.
It's all a balance, right?
Yeah. So just remembering that is fine. And that album, this one, it's called All Love and No Heart. And these songs, some of them are 10 plus years old. Some of them are more like 2 years old. But I'm so slow, my writing, and has been, at least historically, very slow for this Lish Bills thing. And I think I gotta change that for the next one, because I can't take another 10 years for the next album. I won't. But
you could. It just depends on what you want to do with it.
Yeah, for sure I could. I don't want to. I want to do it a little more quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way I tend to write is so like, it's like I just have one little piece of an idea that I get, and then I just sort of let it stew and flip around in my head for a while. And, so writing a song could take a year doing it that way.
Yeah.
And it usually turns out good. And at some point I do have to usually sit down and like make an effort to finish it.
Yeah.
But I think now I'm working on being more disciplined and sort of, figuring out how to make that process happen more quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. What have you figured out? Do you have any advice?
Not really. I don't know. I think what I'm starting to realize is, because I don't have quite the time that I used to have, as tends to happen as you just get older, you have less free time and more responsibility. And so I used to like just always be sort of writing in my head, because like I'd be breaking down boxes at work and like something I didn't have to think about.
Yep.
When I first started Lish Bills, it was a few years of when I was single, I was working part-time, cheap rent, and I just had so much time where I could just sit and sort of like, I don't know, just think and ruminate and come home at night and just play or whatever. And now I think it's more like just trying to get quicker at getting my mind in that focused place. So I guess it's sort of like a meditation thing almost, as far as how I could practice it. But not waiting for it to just happen. Yeah. Yeah, just being like, okay, I'm going to now get myself into that state of mind.
Into the flow state instead of waiting for flow state to come to you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I am getting a little better at that. Working on improvising musically has helped a lot, I think. I've been working more on that the past year or so. There have been these jam sessions with some older and much better than me players that I've been going to and learning a ton. So Charlie Robinson is so I teach guitar lessons too.
Okay.
And he's like the guy who taught all the guitar teachers around here, you know. So we would go jam, Bruce and some other people at Charlie's house on Friday mornings, and just sort of that well of wisdom and experience and knowledge was something I was trying to tap into. And they're all really great improvisers because that's the type of music that they play, you know, jazz, country, blues, all that stuff. And I think the state of mind that you have to go into when you're improvising, improvising is pretty much the same thing as composing, right? You're just doing it on the spot.
Yeah.
And so it's a very similar state of mind that you got to get into. And so I think that's helped me a ton with writing, because, you know, just practicing getting into that state of awareness of what you're doing, I guess, and quickly translating an idea from your head to your hands. So I think I'm making progress, but I'm not quite where I want to be.
Yeah. So what prompted bringing the album together now, or has it really been like a 10-year process?
No, I started really working on the album with Chris Keen a little over a year ago.
Okay.
I was teaching high school. I quit teaching high school. And I guess I sort of found that, because I went back to school. I got a degree in physics, graduated in like 2019, and got a teaching credential, taught high school physics and math and stuff. And I guess kind of realized that music, which was such a big part of my life for so long, I had kind of put it away for a little too long, and was like, oh man, I no wonder I'm like, because I was noticing that I was pretty unhappy. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's why.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I need to finish this album. It's something I've wanted to do for a really long time. And, I had like the cover art from, so Ellen Akimoto is a artist who is originally from here, but she lives in Germany.
Okay.
Leipzig. She's made a career of her painting and everything.
Cool.
So back in 2013, she lived here, and I commissioned her to paint the cover, and I still had that painting sitting there.
Yeah,
and it's like, it's been so long, and like I have all these pieces in place. I just needed to put it out, and finish recording it, which took a while. But it, the finished product, I got Jack Gingers to play drums, Gavin Fitzgerald to play bass. And then Chris and Bruce did some stuff on there, and Chris Keen is in the band as well. But it came together just like I wanted it to. Like
awesome.
we were able to put together, I think, like exactly what it should have been. So I'm really happy with it.
Great, that's great to hear, for sure. And so, what is the best part about being a musician in Chico, would you say?
In Chico in particular?
In particular, yeah.
I think just like it's a really supportive scene. I think there's a lot of freedom to try things,
Mm-hmm.
like do weird stuff, and people will come out and support it.
Yep.
Especially lately, I think people have really been coming out
Yeah.
to shows.
I
And
do think we were all starving for it
yeah,
post-pandemic.
right,
Yeah.
right. And we've got, I think the Naked Lounge is a really, really crucial piece of it right now.
Yeah.
Because I just remember all those years when I was, under 21 playing music. All ages venues would come and go,
Yep.
and it was always such a stressful thing where it's like, oh man, I don't know if you were ever here, if you were here when Fulcrum Records existed, but that was one of them, and it lasted for a little while, but it's
Yep.
hard to keep a venue like that open, and I think the Naked Lounge is it might just be one that can keep going.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that they've been here as long as they have and kind of resurrected post-pandemic as this all ages venue is a great sign.
And it's so active. There's so many of these young bands that I don't even know who they are. Like, I'll see the flyers and I'm like, I don't know who any of these bands are. Or maybe one of them, and I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
That's a really good sign, know? And I think we can do better, but there is a good amount of sort of the different generations playing together. Mm-hmm. I think there's a little bit of the pandemic, I think, created a little bit of a rift there.
Yeah.
Where maybe there's sort of some unnecessary separation where people don't quite know what's going on with one scene or another. Mm-hmm. But I think that's starting to change, and we're starting to see a little more what each other is doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's the main thing here is it's a place where, it's accessible enough that if you want to do something, try something different, there's going to be a place you can do it. And there's going to be at least a few people who come check it out.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. There's space for experimentation here for sure. Yeah. So, we talked about your album. Is there anything else coming up? Like, what are you looking forward to post album release creatively?
Well, I think after the release and hopefully playing some good shows and all that, I'm looking forward to getting started on writing more stuff again. Mm-hmm. I have a few, maybe 4 songs that I've started, and I think it'll be really cool to get a new group of songs going, and especially now that I've got this band. Mm-hmm. I think maybe even writing with that in mind a little more is going to be cool.
Yeah. Do you think it'll be more collaborative or
maybe? I don't know. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
I that's how I'm used to working.
Sure.
Just playing in bands for so long, not solo projects.
Yeah.
I'm used to like going to band practice, and in heavy music, it's like riffs is what it's all based on. Mm-hmm. So it's a little different because you're like, I got this riff and you got that. Let's see, do they work together and stuff? And this kind of music's a little different. But I think that there's still tons of room for collaborating more. Mm-hmm. And maybe collaborating more with other local artists who aren't, in the band or whatever. Mm-hmm. But mostly I think like maybe creating a group of songs that's a little more intentionally together. Like,
sure.
because rather than songs that are spread out over 10 years, something that's like, I think it'll probably feel like a little more of a consistent group, like a body of work,
Right.
So I think that'll be a cool thing as well.
Yeah, for sure. Very cool. Well, awesome. I totally appreciate you making the time, sharing about your process.
No, thank you so much for having me. This is such a great thing that you're doing, and I'm really honored to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for sharing your story, and yeah. So, where can people find you online?
Oh, everywhere. Pick your social media of choice. I'm on them. I guess. Well, I guess I'm not really on X, or Twitter or whatever.
Whatever that is.
I did make. That's the only one where I couldn't have the name Lish Bills.
Weird.
Because someone took it, so I had to be Lish Bills Music. It's like a Billie Eilish fan account.
Oh.
That's. I don't know. It's not in English. So maybe they just sort of threw her name together or something. But that's the only platform that I'm not just, at Lish Bills on or whatever.
Yeah. Which that actually brings up, so where did Lish Bills come from? The name, yeah.
That came from working at the Music Connection. Dan Elson, he plays in Shadow Limb. I think he was the one who first started calling me Kirk-a-Lish. And then that just became Lish. And then my last name is Williams. So one day he was like, hey, your last name's Williams, so it's Bills if you abbreviate it. And that makes you Lish Bills. And then they started calling me that.
There you go.
So I didn't make it up. It was a name that was given to me.
That's awesome. Your life trail name. As it were.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Super cool. Well, great. Thanks again for making the time. And you can find him as Lish Bills all over the place. And that's your website as well, too.
Yeah, lishbills.com.
Yep.
All the streaming platforms, all that stuff.
Cool.
Yep.
Awesome. Great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. And you can find us at chico.creates on Instagram. And we will see you around town.
Thanks.
Sweet. Thank you.
You only call me when you're lonely, darling, when you wanted something to change.
If you love what we're doing with the show, please consider becoming a supporter for as little as $5 a month. And if nothing else, subscribing and leaving us a review on your favorite podcast player is always very much appreciated and will help other people find us and the stories we share. You can find Chico Creates on Instagram at chico.creates. Thank you for listening and being part of our community.
You only call